Hi, this is John with Golfland Warehouse. Today, I'm with Rich Massey, VP of Operations at DST Golf. And today, we're going to be taking a quick look at the DST Golf Club. All right, Rich, so I have the DST wedge in my hand, and the first thing that I notice is the shaft's bent. What's the deal?
We prefer to call it scientifically curved. And the reason it's curved, it's replicating what happens to a regular golf shaft under maximum force at impact. So all good ball strikers, when they get to impact, the moment of impact, the club almost freezes for a split second and the shaft will bow this way. The only way that can happen is if the hands are leading the club head through impact. If you're getting flippy, that's never going to happen in your golf swing. So the golf club actually teaches people how to get to the optimum impact position, which is the hands ahead of what we call the line of tension. The line of tension is just a line from your armpit down to the back edge of the golf ball. All good players, their hands are ahead of that line. All bad players, their hands are behind that line.
I just learned something about myself. So, what's going to happen if I can get my hands in front of the ball like you're suggesting right now? Because I can tell you right now, I bet I'm closer to either straight or maybe a little bit club heads in front of my hand.
Sure, the more you get your hands out in front or ahead of the line of tension, ahead of the club head, the more you're going to compress the golf ball. If you compress the golf ball, you're going to hit it longer, you're going to hit it slightly higher. Most importantly, you're going to have a consistent ball strike, you're going to have consistent distance control. When you start swinging up and you start flipping the hands or getting the hands behind the club head at impact, you're adding off to the golf club, so you're turning an 8-iron into a wedge. Where a tour player takes an 8-iron, and when they get their hands ahead through impact, they're turning that 8-iron into a 5-iron. Okay, so there's a reason why they hit 8-iron from 175 yards or 80 yards. It's really not an 8-iron at impact. So the more you can keep the hands leaning forward or head of the club head at impact, the better the strike, the longer the distance, the higher the trajectory. Certainly you're going to improve the golf game.
So the DST iron comes in two different makes, right? It comes in a wedge and then an 8-iron, right?
That's correct. So we have a 58-degree wedge, and then we have the standard lofted 8-iron. People often ask, which one should I choose? Both are great. The advantage to the wedge is that you can hit chip shots, you can hit pitch shots, you can hit full swings with it. The 8-iron, obviously, you're limited to basically more of a full swing. The better the player, they tend to gravitate more towards the 8-iron. The reason being is that the better the player, their natural tendency or error in their golf swing shows up under more speed. So when you hit an 8-iron, you have a little bit more speed in your golf swing than you do with a pitching wedge. But that being said, I have tour players, using the pitching wedge, the sand wedge all the time. On tour, about 75% of the players that use it use the 8-iron, 25% use the wedge. It just comes down to your personal preference.
Yeah, speaking of tour players, was the design or was the club itself inspired by any pros, or are there many pros using this as a training aid?
Yeah, so we now have over 210 European and PGA Tour players using it. 15 of the top 25 players in the world use the DST clubs. We've had numerous wins. We just had first and second place this last week. So it not only helps a tour player, but it helps a 30 handicapper. And there aren't many training clubs on the market that have that same effect where they can help a tour player and help a beginner, basically. So we're very proud of that fact, and the reason for that, to be honest, is whether you're a tour player, a major champion winner, or a 30 handicap, you're always trying to get to the same impact position.
So I have the club in my hand. How do I set it up, or what am I looking to do?
So the one thing you'll see on each one of our clubs is there's what we call the hand position alignment marker on the hosel of the golf club. So basically what we want you to do is we want you to set up in the impact position. So that line on the hosel, if you set up at address and you press your shaft of the golf club forward, that line on the hosel will become a straight line with the bottom groove. Okay, so that is basically impact. So the only difference between address and impact is that the hips are turned, right? So we believe that the golf swing is complicated enough, and for the average player to try and start with their hands out of the middle of their body and then create that angle to get to impact is very difficult.
Is there anything that our customers might want to know that we haven't covered yet?
No, I mean, the two advantages. The one, of course, we've already talked about, which is leaning your hands or leaning the shaft forward at impact, keeping the hands ahead of what we call the line of tension. That's the number one thing that this golf club is going to do for you. Secondly, what it does is the curvature of the golf shaft itself it changes the golf club so that the balance of the golf club wants to swing what we call on plane. Okay, if at any point in time you were to take that golf club off plane through impact, the error would get exaggerated. So the other benefit to the golf club is it teaches the player how to properly pivot or turn with their body and their arms through impact. If you don't, the error is going to get exaggerated pretty quickly. So it's just not only for teaching you the proper impact position, but it's going to teach you how your body should properly keep moving through impact so that you can hit the ball straighter.
Excellent. There's other training aids on the market that kind of get you into that same impact zone. What sets this one apart from some of the others?
Sure. So one of the other similar training clubs would be, it's called Tour Striker. It's a great product. The Tour Striker product itself mainly deals with just the angle of attack. That golf club wants you to hit down on the golf ball, which is great because by hitting down on it, you're going to learn that, again, the hands have to be ahead of the club head. The problem with it is that it's one-dimensional, and it can also be cheated, meaning that I can just chop down on it and the ball will go up, but I might hit a 20, 30-yard cut. Where the DST golf club, you can't cheat it. Literally, the curvature of the shaft, if the golf club isn't swung on plane through impact, will magnify the error. So there's really no way to cheat it. There's the Medicus club, the hinging golf club, same thing. It can actually be cheated. Great device. They've sold a lot of them, but again, it can be cheated. The reason why a lot of the tour players like this is it's instant feedback, and they can't cheat it. So they literally know after every golf swing whether they've swung their arms on plane and properly compressed the golf ball. Otherwise, they're going to see the miss exaggerated, either much further to the left or much further to the right. So those guys don't want to waste any time. They don't want to wonder whether they did it right or did it wrong, as any golfer doesn't want to do. So you'll literally know after every shot whether you, one, compressed the ball properly, and two, whether you actually kept your arms swinging on plane.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like a great club. I'm going to give it a shot. I want to thank Rich Massey, VP of Operations at DST Golf, for giving us the quick look today at the DST Golf Compressor.
Thanks, man.